Welcome to another craft video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl and I'm in charge of the craft kits at the main library. And today's video is to accompany a craft kit that we'll be giving out at the main library starting February 15th, 2023. Now, if you're watching this later or you didn't get the chance to get a kit, don't worry. I'll tell you everything you need to buy to make this craft. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be making and decorating these magazine holders. Now, since you're watching a library video, you're probably a reader and you might have magazines or even catalogs or anything like that that you want to store and put on your shelves, but you want them to be cute. So we're going to decorate these cute little magazine holders. I'll tell you right now what you need. Okay, so what you've got in your kit, or what you'll need to purchase if you don't have a kit, is this foldable magazine holder. We bought these off of Amazon in a package of 12, and this just folds up and makes the magazine holder. Now you can do this with any kind of plastic magazine holder too, if you happen to find one at one of the home organizing stores like Container Store, or even the office supply stores like Office Max or Office Depot. Any of those stores that have any kind of magazine holder, you can do this with a plastic magazine holder too. You don't need this particular kind. But you will also get instructions on how to fold, or unfold I should say, the magazine holder. You will get about 40 inches of adhesive back contact paper. Now in our kits we have a blue patterned one, a yellow patterned one, and this pink marble one. But you can buy any kind of contact paper that does this. And the contact paper has a little adhesive paper backing that you remove to expose the adhesive. What we've also got in your kit is this pretty ribbon. Now this is a paper kind of ribbon, but you can use a fabric type too. This is going to go around the magazine holder to decorate it and to hold the label. And the label holder is going to look like this. These kind of label holders you can find in the craft store in the scrapbooking section. They have 3 flat sides and 1 open side that you slide the label down into. They have 2 holes on the edges, and you will get 2 brads in your kit that you will use to adhere them to the ribbon. Now, these brads, if you're going to be doing this with your own supplies and you're going to be using a fabric ribbon, these brads are not strong enough to poke through fabric. They are mostly to be used with paper ribbon. If you're using fabric ribbon, you're going to want to poke a hole with an ice pick or an awl or some sort of pointy object to put the brads into. You will also get a tube of this E6000 cement, and these tubes are sealed to keep them from drying up. You have a puncture tool in the back of your lid, and so when you get this, what you'll have to do is you'll have to take the lid off, turn it around, and place it down to puncture the seal. You will also need a pair of scissors to cut your contact paper with. All right, so let's get started and we'll put together the magazine holder. So you're going to open this up, and you've got the flap parts down here. We're going to do that. That's the base. So you've got one that has a cut in, and then you have one side that has the kind of a triangle shape. Now what you'll do is the one that has the cut in like this, you'll fold that down first, Then you'll fold the sides down. Now you're going to fold this one down. This side forms a slot that goes right in here. So you'll push this down like that. That forms the base. Now you're going to turn it over. This part is going to fold down and get stuck flat. Now these two little cutouts here, that's to hold it in place so that it won't flip up and out. This part is mostly to stabilize it so that it won't go wonky and the edges won't go sideways. All right, so we've got that part done. Now this part, when we're finished, is going to go slide down in there to cover the flaps so that your magazines don't catch on those flaps. But that's the last step we're going to do. So for right now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set this aside for a second. And we're going to take our contact paper. Now on the back of your contact paper, you will have a grid to help you keep everything straight and lined up. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to use this as a template on one of the ends to cut out the edges. Now if you're, and you can just cut around here. Now if you're worried about cutting straight, you can get a pen or pencil. So let me grab one. Not absolutely necessary, but it's if you feel like you want one. And we'll just trim this out here. Now this piece is not absolutely necessary, but I like it. This one is going to go down here on the base to cover everything and make a smooth surface. It's not going to be absolutely necessary because the contact paper that you're going to use for the sides is going to fold over here a little bit. But if you're going to be putting this in and out of a shelf and you have contact paper just around the outside here, it might catch as you're moving it in and out of the shelf. So I like to put this piece of paper on here so that it forms a nice base and it's easier to slide in and out of the shelf without catching the edges. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get the other side. Now some of these contact papers are a little bit stiff and they have a tendency to roll up, so you might have to get something heavy like a book or something and weight down the other side so that it doesn't roll up over top of your working surface. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo this edge of the paper just a little bit at a time, and we're going to put this down on the paper here, starting with the paper about halfway up the back. That's going to form a seam there. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of the paper off and stick this down here, pull more paper off, roll it down, more paper, roll it, and smoothing as we go. Now you don't want to line the bottom edge of your magazine holder up with the bottom edge because you want it to fold over the bottom a little bit. So you're going to move this up by about 1 inch to 1.5 inches up from one edge. So I'm going to get this paper off the back. I like to just fold down the corner a little bit and kind of run it back and forth with my finger or thumb until it starts separating. And this is repositionable a little bit. So if you get it in the wrong spot or whatever, you can actually adjust it a little bit, but it's best to be very careful as you go along so you don't have to do that as much. So now we're going to put this down here. So I want to line the bottom of this up as evenly, and I'm not putting it down quite yet so that I don't make a lot of contact. I'm going to try and do it as evenly as I can. I don't know if you can see that really well. just this edge. Then I'll lay it down nice and neatly, and I can go over here and smooth down the back. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of the paper here, hold it down flat, hold it as flat as I can, and just kind of fold this over like that. Now I'm going to lift it up to check and make sure it's all smooth. You've done it, and you might want to actually stick your hand inside and kind of make good contact. Let me check that again. That's a little bit better. I'm going to do the same thing a little bit at a time. All right. And now, when you get to the back, we're not going to just fold all of this over. We want to use this extra. So what I'm going to do is I have about this much left. I want a little bit of an overlap, so I'm going to trim off with just a little bit of an overlap. And I'm going to fold this up and smooth it down. I'm going to lay it down on its side. We're going to set the extra part off to the side. Okay, so what we're going to do on the bottom is we're going to cut a little skinny V that goes right to the bottom corner. See how I've cut that out? You're going to do that on each corner. Okay, those V's cut out of the corner will give us a little bit of easier time when we're folding them in. So I'm going to take one and I'm just going to gently smooth it down. And I'm going to go around and do the same thing for every side here. And they will tend to want to stick to themselves too, so. But just be gentle about it and you can pull them apart. All right, so that gives us a nice base. Now we're not going to put this on yet. We're going to save that because we can't turn this upside down because we have all this extra paper sitting here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to find the back, which is the tallest piece, and we're going to cut a line right down to that corner and right down to this corner. And we can, as we cut them, we can just fold that part down. Just going to run our hand down gently and smooth it out down that way. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this back corner, straight down to the corner, down that way. Now you'll see that you'll have a, this is the part where it goes down as at an angle, and then this is the part that's straight. That corner where those meet, we're going to cut right there. Okay, and if you want to see how that looks sideways, you do this. Okay, so I've cut this down right to that corner, and I'm going to fold this down. Now, if I didn't cut this nicely, I might have to trim off a little bit of this corner too to fit it inside. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just gently smooth that down just like I did the other one. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I don't know if, let me see if I can get this positioned with the camera. So you see how this is done. So you see I've got the pieces folded down and over. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, find where the corner is, where the straight meets the angled, and I'm going to cut right down to there. And I'm going to fold that side down also, gently smoothing it and running my finger down the corners to catch and make sure that it's got a nice contact in the corners. Now with this part, what we're going to do is we're going to cut straight. See, we're going to take that line here and we're going to cut straight along that line. And we're going to do that all the way around. And I'm holding the other side with my hand so that it doesn't curl up. This one you can set aside, take some of that paper that we set aside and just put it back on that paper to save it for later. All right, so now we're going to do with this what we did with these corners here. We're going to cut a line straight down to this corner and to this corner, and we're going to fold them in. Sometimes when I'm folding these in, I like to put it flat so that I can give it some good pressure on the inside. Okay. So I've got these folded here all inside. Now you notice that doesn't cover everything. That's what we're going to use the extra pieces for here. But we can take that one piece that we used this as a template. We can take this one piece, and now that the edges are folded in, we can do that back here. Okay. Now we try, the easiest way to do this is to try and line it up along one of the edges to make sure it's straight, and then kind of just kind of smooth it down as you go across. Now I do have to tell you, if you have put all this on and you notice that you have a bubble, I don't think you can see it in here, but there's a big bubble where it didn't make contact and there's air trapped in there. I can take my scissors or an X-Acto knife and just run a tiny little slit there and smooth the air out, and you'll get any air out, and that way you can get any big bubbles out. All right, so now we're going to be taking this extra paper and we're going to be covering in here with it. And you're welcome to cut these in smaller pieces if you feel like you're going to have trouble handling them. But I like to fold it in half like this so that it won't roll up on itself. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this and I'm going to put this right in here, and I'm going to smooth it around this side here. Now, see if you've got any parts that didn't get covered. I've got a little part here that didn't get covered and a little part here that didn't get covered. So I can cut out pieces out of my other pieces of contact paper over here in order to cover up those areas. Now, this is why I prefer patterned paper for this. And frankly, the busier pattern it is, the less you see any mistakes. In here, of course, the pattern's not going to match quite perfectly. But if it's a really busy pattern, let me grab one of the others. If it's a busy pattern like this, you won't really notice it as much. So it is possible to do this with solid color paper, but it will show mistakes more. So if you're doing solid color paper, what I would do is I would start with much more contact paper so that you have bigger pieces left, so that you can fit in here in like one piece instead of the little piecemeal that we're doing here. So start with, instead of 40 inches of paper, start with 650 maybe. And that extra 10 inches will give you bigger pieces so that you don't have to piece together as many little pieces. And of course, this inside here won't really be seen if you've actually got it full of magazines. And you don't really have to worry about the bottom parts because that's usually especially going to be hidden in shadows. But just take your extra contact paper and just fill in as many big areas as you think it's going to show. Okay, I've used up all my paper. I didn't get all of the very, very bottom edges here covered, but I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to put magazines in here and nobody's going to be looking down in there. So now I'm just going to set this down in here, and that covers up the little flaps so that nothing catches on them. Okay, now I'm going to decorate it. So I'm going to take my ribbon, and you will have a blue ribbon and a yellow ribbon. So you figure out which one you want to do. Oh, I kind of like the blue ribbon. Okay, so we're going to take our blue ribbon and we're going to take the metal holder and the two brads. We're going to find the center, just the general center. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now this is going to go right on here, centered here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hold this in place, and I'm going to take the brad and I'm going to poke it through the hole. And then on the back, I'm going to open up the legs of the brad to hold that in place. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so I've got both of the brads open and holding the ribbon in place. Now I'm going to take the front of my magazine holder, that's the small part, and I'm going to be gluing this right here on the front and wrapping this around and gluing it in back. All right. So that I don't get glue on anything, I'm going to take the paper that was on the back of my contact paper because it's got this nice smooth side. I'm going to open my glue and unseal it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run, remember those three sides and one's open? I'm going to run the glue down the brads, across the bottom side, up the other one, and I'm going to glue a little bit here in the middle. Now, I'm going to take this and put it straight down there, like that. Making sure it makes contact and trying to keep it as straight with the edges this way as I can. Okay. Now I'm going to Now that glue isn't set yet, so I'm just going to figure out where that's going to run, and I'm going to run a little bit of glue right where I want that ribbon to set. And make contact here. Okay. Making sure not to pull it out of alignment with the center. I'm going to fold that down there so that holds that in place. You don't have to put a lot of glue. That. Then we're going to glue these down. And make sure to try and pull them so that both of the ribbons are tight and not lifting up anywhere. Now, it's going to take a while for this to dry. So what I like to do is I like to sit it down on its back on this contact paper backing so that it doesn't stick to anything. And I like to put a weight, I like to put some books or something in here to weight it down so that the glue makes good contact. And then you can always go through here and make sure it has good contact here and let it dry for at least a couple hours. I would also like to tell you with this glue, this E6000 glue, it's very sturdy and it will cure to be very solid after a couple hours. It'll dry to the touch, but then it'll cure completely in 24 hours. But it does have a little bit of an odor. So if you are sensitive to that kind of thing, you might want to use this in a well-ventilated area. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when it's all completely done. And just give it a few hours at least before you start using it to make sure the glue is all completely done. Now, to put the label in, you can just cut a little piece of paper at the right size, write a label on it, print a label, and just make sure and slide it down in between the metal holder and the ribbon so that it lays right on top, just like that. See, that's just a little piece of paper that slides in and out. So you can change out the label. And then you're done. So thank you for viewing another video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl. I'll see you next time. Bye.